While my husband preached about faithfulness, the church screen behind him flashed Renee Caldwell, followed by 6 words. "You promised me after service tonight." The sanctuary did not erupt, it tightened. The organist lifted both hands from the keys. Somewhere behind me, a Bible slipped from a lap and struck the carpet with a soft thud. "Jesus," one woman whispered. My wedding ring pressed into my finger because I had closed my hands so tightly around the edge of the pew. The notification remained only a few seconds, long enough for the congregation to read it twice, and for me to recognize the woman Malcolm called nothing more than someone in need of prayer. The white lilies at the altar suddenly looked like decoration arranged before something already fading. My husband, Reverend Malcolm Vance, stood beneath the words with one hand lifted over an open Bible. His sermon title, "Faithful in Private," was still printed in gold beneath Renee's message. The irony was so clean that no one needed to explain it. Then the screen went black. Malcolm did not look at the media booth, he looked at me. For 31 years I had known every version of his face. What I saw was calculation. His eyes moved toward the trustees, then toward Renee's empty chair in the choir stand. Only after he had measured the room did he lower his voice and say, "Church, let us remain prayerful." That was when I understood. He was not wondering how deeply he had wounded me. He was calculating how much of the truth the church had seen. To understand why I did not rise from that front pew, you must understand that New Mercy African Methodist Episcopal Church was not simply the place where my husband preached. It was the place where my life had learned its first language. My mother led the Missionary Society for 22 years. My father served as treasurer with yellow legal pads. I was baptized in the old sanctuary, married in the new one, and spent my adult life caring for the rooms between them. By the time Malcolm became senior pastor, I knew the needs hidden behind nearly every pew. I chaired benevolence, oversaw scholarships, and helped establish the weekday meal program. Still, people called me First Lady because churches often simplify women into the titles nearest the men they love. I believe service did not need to be named correctly to be holy. I still do what I no longer believe, is that invisibility becomes sacred because a woman endures it without complaint. My deepest desire was not to be admired, but believe Malcolm was warm in public and gifted at making uncertainty sound like spiritual weakness. When I asked about late counseling sessions or Renee waiting outside his office, he did not call me foolish. He called me tired and suggested old fears were disturbing present peace. A woman can defend herself against an insult. It is harder to defend herself against concern shaped like correction. So I remained careful. I watched, I prayed. And because I had no proof, I began treating my own perception as the least trustworthy voice in every room. Renee Caldwell came to New Mercy 3 years earlier. She was 52, recently widowed, with a contralto voice that gathered a room on her first Sunday. With the senior choir, the sanctuary leaned toward her song. I liked her. That truth matters. People want one woman innocent and another wicked. But life is less cooperative. Renee was generous and patient. She also entered an emotional relationship with my husband and accepted secrecy. that required my ignorance, both things were true. Her grief became the doorway. Malcolm began meeting with her after Tuesday Bible study. First with the office door open, then closed. He said her loneliness required pastoral care. I suggested Sister Elaine. Our licensed grief counselor, Malcolm said. Renee was not ready to trust another woman. At the time, I heard compassion in that answer. Later, I heard strategy. The first small doubt arrived one Thursday in the church hallway, passing Malcolm's office. I heard Renee laugh with the low familiarity of a conversation without distance. Malcolm stepped out alone and asked whether I needed something. Renee left through the side door several minutes later. When I asked why they had exited separately, he rested his hand on my shoulder and said, "You are looking for disorder, where there is only ministry." I apologized. That apology troubled me more than the closed door. It was the first time I noticed how quickly I could be persuaded to confess for asking a reasonable question. I know now that when every request for clarity ends with you apologizing, clarity is not the problem. Power is. Over the next 18 months, the signs became ordinary. Renee's name filled the office call log. Malcolm protected his tablet with a new passcode and connected it directly to the sanctuary projector. On Wednesdays, Renee stayed after rehearsal to review music, though Malcolm barely read music. None of those facts alone could carry an accusation. Together they formed a quiet weight. I carried that weight through every ministry room and kept functioning. Because women are often praised most loudly when our pain causes the least inconvenience. I called my silence peace. I said I was protecting the congregation, and that mature wives did not turn intuition into indictment. Beneath those explanations was fear. Without proof, Malcolm could use my uncertainty to make me smaller in the church my parents helped build. Fear can wear a white dress and sit in the front pew. It can quote scripture. It can call itself submission while quietly teaching a woman to abandon her own discernment. After communion one Sunday, 81-year-old Mother Bernice Hall found me near the baptism area, folding linen cloths that did not need folding. "You keep smoothing the same corner," she said. "I am making sure they are ready." They were ready 10 minutes ago. I looked down at my hands. Mother Hall did not ask about Malcolm. She only said, "Peace does not require you to pretend you cannot see." Then she took half the linens and folded beside me, without another word. Her sentence remained like a stone beneath dark water. I was not ready to lift it, but I could no longer deny it. The sermon that exposed them came during New Mercy's annual marriage covenant. Sunday couples renewed vows at the altar, and the women's ministry arranged white lilies and purple irises beneath the pulpit. Every bulletin carried Ecclesiastes 4:12. A threefold cord is not quickly broken. Malcolm chose the sermon title himself, Faithful in Private. I nearly asked him to choose another subject. The words felt deliberately righteous, but I had questioned myself so long that even discomfort seemed to need permission. On Saturday, while I checked the renewal candles, Renee entered through the choir door carrying a garment bag. She said she needed to leave her robe before traveling after service. "We will miss your voice," I told her. She looked at me for a moment longer than kindness required. "Some absences are better than the wrong kind of presence," she said. I waited for an explanation. None came. Then Malcolm appeared at the pulpit steps. His expression changed so quickly that another person might have missed it. The warmth left first, then surprise, then control returned. "Renee," he said, "I thought we agreed you would not need to come today." She tightened her grip on the garment bag. I changed my mind. The exchange lasted less than a minute, yet something inside me overflowed its careful boundaries. After Renee left, I asked Malcolm what agreement he meant. He closed the distance between us and lowered his voice. "She has become emotionally dependent on pastoral counsel. I am setting healthier boundaries. I need you not to complicate that." There it was again. A request for truth turned into a warning about my behavior. I did not argue. I looked toward the altar, where the lilies stood upright in polished brass vases. One petal had fallen onto the communion rail. I left it there. Sunday began with ushers in white gloves, the choir in burgundy robes, and married couples waiting to hear their endurance honored. The renewal cards lay on the altar rail beside small candles, each flame intended to represent a promise kept through ordinary years. Renee's chair in the choir stand remained empty. Before service, I saw 16-year-old Isaiah Brooks checking the projector connection with the seriousness he gave every church assignment. "Pastor wants his tablet mirrored the whole time," he told me. He said not to switch away unless he signals. "Even during notifications?" Isaiah frowned. "Notifications are supposed to be off." Supposed to be. That phrase followed me to the front pew. Reverend Gaines greeted me before taking her seat 2 rows behind. She asked whether I was well. I gave the answer women in visible church roles learn to give without deciding whether it is true. "I am holding steady." She studied my face, then said, "Steady is not the same as alone." The processional began before I could answer. Malcolm entered behind the ministers with his Bible pressed to his chest. He passed close enough to touch my shoulder, but did not from the pulpit. He thanked the couples who had modeled covenant through illness, caregiving, disappointment, and time. The congregation responded warmly. I looked at the white lilies beneath him. They were fresh, upright, and carefully arranged. Only I seemed to notice the fallen petals still resting on the communion rail. The life I had believed in had looked much like those flowers, tended, admired, and presented from the side that hid what was loosening. When Malcolm announced his sermon title, "Faithful in Private," the words appeared across the church screen in gold. No name appeared yet. No message disturbed the sanctuary. But my body knew before my mind did that something could no longer be contained. I ample again with Proverbs, then moved to the vows couples make when no audience is present. He spoke gently about integrity and covenant. He was eloquent because truth can be described accurately even by someone refusing to live it. The congregation answered with soft amens. He said secrecy was dangerous because it divided the soul. He said a husband should never create a private world his wife was forbidden to enter. Every sentence seemed to pass through me before reaching the people behind me. For years, I had believed hypocrisy meant a person did not know better. Sitting beneath that sermon, I understood a harder possibility. Some people know the truth well enough to teach it, and still treat knowledge as a substitute for obedience. Malcolm turned a page on his tablet. The scripture slide changed smoothly. Isaiah watched from the media booth. Faithfulness, Malcolm said, is not the promise we make when everyone is watching. A husband across the aisle took his wife's hand. It is what we practice when secrecy would be easier. The tablet gave a faint chime. Malcolm paused but did not look down. The screen remained on the sermon title. He continued, "Covenant requires us to bring hidden things into the light before they become." Another chime sounded, louder through the sanctuary speakers because the tablet audio had also been mirrored. Several heads lifted. Malcolm glanced toward Isaiah. Isaiah touched the controls, but the projector did not respond. The tablet remained the primary device, exactly as Malcolm had instructed. I felt my wedding ring pressing into my finger. I had closed my hand around the edge of the pew without realizing it. There are moments when a woman's body stops waiting for her permission. To know, my breathing slowed. The room seemed to draw inward around the pulpit. Malcolm reached toward the tablet. Before his hand touched it, the screen changed. Yodi Prazu appeared behind my husband, followed by 6 words. "You promised me after service tonight." The organist lifted both hands from the keys. Somewhere behind me, a Bible slipped from a lap and struck the carpet with a soft thud. "Jesus," one woman whispered. The notification remained long enough for the congregation to read it twice, and for me to recognize the woman Malcolm called nothing more than someone in need of prayer. Then it vanished. Malcolm tried to continue. "Church, let us remain prayerful," as I was saying. A second message appeared. "I will not keep carrying your private tenderness while you preach public faithfulness." The sanctuary became perfectly still. Malcolm darkened the screen beneath his hand, but darkness could not return the words to secrecy. He looked toward the trustees, then toward Renee's empty choir chair. Only after measuring the room did he look at me. Presiding Elder Charlotte Gaines rose from 2 rows behind. "Reverend Vance, please step away from the pulpit." "This is a private pastoral matter," he said. "No," she replied. "It became a church matter when it appeared above the altar during a sermon on covenant." She directed him toward the office and asked whether I wished to leave. I wished to remain. That was my first boundary. I would not be removed from my church because of his conduct. The congregation sang, "Great is thy faithfulness." Without the organ, God's faithfulness did not become false because Malcolm had preached it falsely. Reverend Gaines closed the service without vow renewals and reminded everyone that curiosity was not the same as care. Then the women moved. Mother Hall sat on my left, Sister Elaine sat on my right, Deaconess. Marva stood at the end of the pew and redirected every person who approached with questions. No one told me to forgive or asked me to protect the church. They simply made space around me until the sanctuary emptied. Through the stained glass, light reached the altar in broken colors. Truth had not arrived to destroy the church. It had arrived to reveal what secrecy had asked the church to carry. That afternoon, Reverend Gaines asked Isaiah to preserve the tablet connection log before anything could be erased. Because the device had been mirrored, the system had cached part of the notification panel. Isaiah feared he had caused the exposure. "You did not create what appeared," I told him. "You operated the equipment you were assigned." I needed that sentence too. With Reverend Gaines, the trustee chair, and me present in the media booth, Isaiah opened the cached panel. There were no photographs or explicit language, only months of intimacy disguised as spiritual care. Malcolm had called Renee, the one place I do not have to perform. He wrote that her voice calmed him after board meetings, and promised that after marriage covenant Sunday, he would make room for what God had placed between them. Renee had challenged him. "I will not keep being your hidden comfort while she carries your public life." When she asked if he would tell me, Malcolm answered, "Not until the church is stable enough to survive it." For years I had believed I was preserving the church. Malcolm had used the church as a reason to postpone honesty indefinitely. Institutions are often called fragile, when the real thing being protected is a powerful person's position. The final message explained the promise after service. They would decide whether he would separate from me before the annual conference. He had prepared to rearrange my life privately while preaching covenant publicly. Malcolm requested a private conversation in his office. I declined. We met in the women's ministry room with Reverend Gaines and Sister Elaine. He said the relationship had not become physical, that boundaries had blurred through counseling, and that he loved me, but had felt unseen. "Then you should have told the truth," I said instead. "You made me doubt what I could see." He apologized for public embarrassment and poor judgment. He had not yet named the deeper harm. "I will participate in the truth," I told him. "I will not participate in protecting your image." All future conversations would include a counselor. He would not enter my ministry office without permission. No statement would be issued in my name unless I wrote it. I once believed dignity meant staying composed while others decided what happened to me. That day, I learned dignity also has a voice. The formal review began the next evening. In the fellowship hall, Reverend Gaines convened outside elders. The trustee chair, a counselor, and a laywoman I was invited to speak, but not asked to prosecute my husband. That mattered. Too often, institutions place the burden of proof, explanation, forgiveness, and recovery on the person already harmed. New Mercy did not handle everything perfectly. But in that room, the leaders understood that my pain was not an administrative task for me to manage on their behalf. The committee found that Malcolm had violated pastoral counseling boundaries, concealed an emotional relationship, misused spiritual language, and compromised the trust required for leadership. He was suspended from the pulpit for 12 months, barred from private counseling, and required to undergo external therapy and denominational supervision before any discussion of restoration. Renee was removed from ministry leadership for 6 months, but was not expelled from the church. Reverend Gaines said plainly, "Discipline must tell the truth without turning a wounded community into a crowd seeking punishment." Some members wanted Malcolm gone permanently, others insisted that because the relationship had not been proven physical, the church was overreacting. A few reminded everyone of his years of service, as if usefulness could cancel harm. I listened to those arguments from the back of the fellowship hall. Communities often protect appearance at the expense of women's pain, not because every member is cruel, but because familiar leadership feels safer than unfamiliar truth. people know how to follow a gifted pastor. They do not always know how to sit with the woman who paid privately for his public stability. When it was my turn to speak, I did not ask the church to choose between Malcolm and me. I am not requesting revenge, I said. I am requesting that we stop calling secrecy a private weakness when it uses church authority to survive. The room remained quiet. Outside the fellowship hall, rain had begun tapping the windows. Water ran from the roof in steady lines, carrying dust from ledges. No one noticed until the rain touched them. I understood then that exposure is not the same as destruction. Sometimes it is the first honest cleaning a structure has received in years. The women of New Mercy helped me remain practical while my inner life rearranged itself. Sister Marva came to the benevolence office on Tuesday morning with a ring of keys and a handwritten list of every account, cabinet, and vendor I had managed through Malcolm's pastoral authorization. Your work will not disappear because his access changes, she said. She helped the trustees place the ministry accounts under dual oversight, so no one could use my marriage crisis to question years of faithful administration. Sister Elaine sat with me every Thursday without rushing reconciliation or separation. She reminded me that forgiveness is spiritual, access relational, and they need not occur together. Mother Hall brought a small paper bag after Wednesday Bible study. Inside were 2 purple iris bulbs from her garden. Plant them by the east path, she said. Not because everything is better, because roots can begin before flowers do. On Saturday, 6 women met me in the courtyard with gloves, trowels, and no appetite for gossip. We planted the bulbs where morning light would reach them. I thought staying silent was loyalty, I said. Mother Hall pressed soil around the first bulb. Loyalty that requires you to leave yourself behind is not covenant. It is disappearance. That was the belief shift I could no longer avoid. I had not remained quiet only because I loved Malcolm or protected the church. I had remained quiet because I had been conditioned to believe that a good Christian woman could absorb confusion indefinitely and call the absorption grace. Grace is not the denial of injury. Grace tells the truth about injury without surrendering the soul to bitterness. When we finished planting, the courtyard bench was wet from the earlier rain. We wiped it dry with old choir towels and sat together anyway. For the first time since the screen lit up, I laughed. Not because anything was resolved, but because I was surrounded by women who did not require my suffering to be solemn every minute in order to take it seriously. 4 weeks later, Renee requested a supervised meeting in the choir room. I agreed, because I wanted truth without spectacle and facts instead of imagination. She sat beneath the empty robe hooks, holding a paper cup of water she never drank. "I am sorry," she said. "Not only that it appeared on the screen. I'm sorry I accepted a relationship that depended on you not knowing." I asked whether Malcolm had told her our marriage was already over. "He said it had become a partnership for the church," she answered. "He said you had both accepted that privately." "We had not." She closed her eyes. I believed her shock. I also believed his version. Let her feel chosen without feeling cruel. Self-deception does not erase responsibility. It explains how ordinary people cross lines. Renee told me she had ended the relationship the moment the second message appeared publicly. She had not sent it intending exposure. She believed notifications were disabled, but she had written the words because Malcolm had asked her to wait again, to remain hidden until the church calendar offered a safer season. There was always another anniversary, another conference, another reason, she said. That sentence freed me from one final illusion. Malcolm had not been moving toward truth slowly, he had been using time to avoid it. I did not comfort Renee. I did not condemn her. I told her that I accepted the truth of her apology, but could not offer closeness. She nodded. Before leaving, she placed her choir key on the chair between us. I need to worship somewhere. I have not helped create this kind of harm, she said. The door closed softly behind her. I remained in the choir room, listening to the building settle. There was no triumph in me, only clarity. Boundaries are not revenge. They are the shape truth takes when it intends to protect what remains alive. And during Malcolm, suspension, New Mercy changed. The trustees adopted counseling rules, visible windows, referrals, time limits, and no private sessions beyond a pastor's training. The women's ministry created a professionally led support circle. The media team required notification controls and a second operator. Policies are not spiritual coldness. Sometimes they are what care looks like after a community admits that good intentions are not enough. I remained at New Mercy but stopped sitting in the front pew. By obligation, I chose where my body would be instead of treating visibility beside a man as my calling. Malcolm attended worship from the side aisle under the terms of his discipline. He began to apologize without qualifying the apology months into counseling. He told the committee that he had used pastoral language to make his needs seem sacred. My questions seemed disruptive. I appreciated the truth. I did not mistake it for automatic restoration. Our marriage remained undecided. That uncertainty frightened people who preferred a quick divorce or reunion. But healing is not obligated to provide an ending before wisdom finishes its work. In early spring, the iris bulbs beside the east path push green shoots through the soil. I noticed them after a women's support meeting. The flowers had not opened, but something living had already broken the surface. I stood there with Sister Marva, while water from the courtyard fountain moved from one bronze bowl to the next. I did not need to describe what it meant. Some truths, once released, continue moving until every level of a life has felt them. "What will you do?" she asked. "I will decide without fear," I said. That answer was enough. My recovery did not come from winning Malcolm back or watching him fall. It came from recovering the authority to name my own experience, to remain in the church without performing marriage, and to let community hold me without turning me into a symbol.
1 year later, Reverend Gaines invited me to speak at Women's Day. I chose the scripture lectern instead of Malcolm's pulpit. The screen behind me remained dark. Psalm 51:6 says God desires truth in the inward being. I once thought it concerned only secrets confessed to God. Now I hear a call to stop dividing yourself into the woman who knows and the woman permitted to speak. I spoke about forgiveness carefully. Ephesians 4 calls us toward kindness, compassion, and forgiveness. But forgiveness does not require a woman to erase consequence, restore access, or call an unsafe pattern peace. Christian mercy is not the same as returning every key to the person who misused the room. Malcolm listened from the side aisle. I did not speak to punish him. I spoke because silence had once separated me from myself, and truth had brought me home. After service, women remained in the sanctuary long after the benediction. One told me she had questioned her own memory for 20 years. Another said she had confused endurance with obedience. A third did not share details. She only held my hand and said, "I thought I was the only one." That is how collective healing began at New Mercy. Not with a perfect marriage restored for public comfort, but with women no longer required to carry private confusion alone. The church screen was eventually replaced. The old one had developed a pale mark in the corner, where Renee's notification first appeared. Isaiah apologized for it, until I told him to stop. Some marks are not failures of the equipment. They are reminders of the moment a hidden thing became visible. I do not know what final shape my marriage will take. I know the shape my dignity has taken now. Truth did not make me cruel. Truth did not take away my faith. Truth taught me that peace without honesty is only quiet. Truth taught me that forgiveness and access are not the same gift. Truth returned my voice without requiring revenge. And the God who met me there did not ask me to disappear in order to be faithful. This channel was created for women who have carried more than anyone knew and who deserve to be seen. If part of this story touched something you have carried quietly, you are welcome to share. Only what feels safe in the comments. Your truth does not have to become a spectacle in order to matter.